Landlocked nations, those without a coastline or access to the open sea, often face unique economic challenges that can hinder their economic development and growth. But what are the physical and human geographical forces behind this? Let's find out. The world is made up of 195 sovereign nations, each with their own unique physical and human geographies. Throughout modern humanity, land borders change immensely, with some nations growing, shrinking, disappearing, and reappearing. Some nations have physical advantages, such as being in a convenient location, having a vast amount of natural resources, and being positioned near a water body. However, some nations aren't as lucky, and to be stuck in between nations may make the situation worse. In this week's episode, we are going to explore landlocked nations and their economies. First, we'll identify the most noticeable landlocked nations on Earth. Next, we'll explore the physical and human geographical reasons why landlocked nations may be less prosperous. And finally, we'll talk about how landlocked nations can increase their economic models to become more thriving. Before we start, if you enjoy geography and earth science related content, be sure to subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home. Let's get started. When we look at the Earth, one continent stands out as having the most landlocked nations, Africa with having 16. Physically, Africa is a large landmass and also has some extreme meteorological conditions, including deserts and tropical rainforest. Of the 10 poorest nations in the world, 7 of them are landlocked within Africa, with the poorest of them being South Sudan. Another continent with a lot of landlocked nations is Asia, with 12. Many of the former Central Asia Soviet republics are landlocked, including Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. Economically, these nations are mixed. Kazakhstan is the richest and benefits from vast natural resources, including significant oil, gas, and mineral reserves, which contribute to its wealth. However, the others in the region are fairly poor. Eastward, Mongolia, a former satellite state of the Soviet Union, is landlocked between Russia and China. With a population of 3.2 million and being in a harsh, isolated location, Mongolia's economy is affected by this. However, in recent years, the nation has had a boom in the mining industry, creating a somewhat higher GDP and per capita income. In the Western Hemisphere, only South America has landlocked nations, and there are two, Bolivia and Paraguay. Compared to other South American nations, both are low to moderate income nations, poorer than many other nearby nations such as Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Chile. However, currently, coastal Venezuela is regarded as being the poorest South American nation because of its over-reliance on the oil industry and spending that money for extensive social programs and subsidies. The last continent of focus is Europe, which has 15 landlocked nations. However, it's an outlier. 5 of the nations, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Andorra, and Luxembourg, have per capita incomes over $50,000 a year. However, Moldova, in Eastern Europe, is a landlocked nation and is regarded as being the poorest nation on the continent. And nearby, Belarus, situated between Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Ukraine, and Russia, isn't as wealthy as other European nations. While there are outliers such as in Europe, a majority of landlocked nations aren't as prosperous as their coastal counterparts, for physical and human geographical reasons. Let's look at some. One physical reason is isolation. Many landlocked nations, especially within Central Asia, are sparsely populated and are far away from large population centers, such as in East Asia. Tajikistan is the poorest Central Asian nation, with a per capita income of around $5,300 a year. Most of the nation is high in elevation and has rugged terrain, making it rather hard to build a suitable infrastructure. Also, Tajikistan is still seeing high total fertility rates, averaging 3.6 children born per woman, leading to a rapid population increase. A population increase coupled with economic dysfunction is not a good recipe. South of Tajikistan is Afghanistan, a landlocked Central South Asian nation. Being isolated within high mountains, history hasn't been kind to the nation. In the late 1990s, the Taliban, an extremist Islamic militant organization, took over the government, leading to many human rights concerns. After 9/11, American and Allied troops invaded Afghanistan and overthrew the Taliban government. But in August of 2021, American troops were pulled out of the nation, and within weeks, the Taliban took over again. A geographic isolation and a landlocked geography are reasons why extremist groups are rampant there. However, it's not the only landlocked area with this problem. In North Central Africa, the landlocked nations of Mali, Niger, and Chad are plagued by extremist groups, leading to many internal geopolitical issues. The physical remoteness of this area within the Sahara Desert and the Sahel add to the problem. Bolivia and Paraguay are the two only landlocked nations in the Americas. Both are on average poorer than other South American nations. However, Paraguay isn't as affected since it has some access to the ocean by means of the Paraguay and Parana rivers. On the other hand, Bolivia has little to no access to the ocean since any rivers that run through the nation are too small to handle ship traffic. And much of Bolivia has a rugged and wild geomorphology, with the western part of the nation having extremely high elevations and the eastern part being situated in the Amazon rainforest. These physical limitations inhibit economic development. What are some solutions that landlocked nations can implement to create economic advancement? One solution can be for some of these nations to create a vibrant primary economic sector by means of mining. Obviously, one physical advantage landlocked nations have is land. And generally, many landlocked nations have large physical sizes. Kazakhstan and Mongolia are two landlocked nations which have seen surging GDPs and per capita incomes thanks to investment in mining. If other nearby nations do the same, perhaps their economies can also start growing. If money is gained from mining, another solution would be to invest that into infrastructure. Developing efficient transport networks like roads, railways, and dry ports will improve trade efficiency and market integration. And also, developing the larger international airports can increase imports and exports. Once a suitable primary economy and infrastructure are established, these nations then could invest in the secondary and tertiary sectors of economic development, industrialization, and services. Another solution is more geopolitically complex, and that's gaining access to a coastline. For more than a century, Bolivia has tried to gain access to the Pacific Ocean by means of a corridor through the thin nation of Chile. In 2013, Bolivia took a significant step by filing a case against Chile at the International Court of Justice, seeking to negotiate in good faith a sovereign access to the Pacific Ocean. Bolivia argued that there were historical commitments by Chile to negotiate sea access. However, in October 2018, the ICJ ruled that Chile was not obligated to negotiate sea access for Bolivia, a significant blow to Bolivia's aspirations. Whether or not more negotiations will occur is uncertain. In today's integrated and modern world, physical geography does play less of a role in a nation's economic success. However, it's still a factor. Landlocked nations need to use critical thinking and innovation to boost their economic expansion. However, it may be easier said than done in certain nations, such as in Central and South Asia. The nations of Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan are ranked as having some of the most autocratic governments in the world. Unfortunately, this will impede further economic advancement. Until this is improved, nations such as these will see limited financial improvements. That concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to leave your feedback, please do so in the comment section below. And be sure to subscribe to my channel, Our World, Our Planet, Our Home. Until next time.